I let my neighbor use my Wi-Fi so his kids could do homework. One day, I came home to my lights cut off and my credit card maxed. Should have read the fine print, he said, waving a fake lease with my signature. So I made one call to his ex-wife. What happened next burned more than his internet. I live just outside Louisville, Kentucky. It's a quiet place. Trees, fences, mailboxes leaning a little to one side. Most of us keep to ourselves, but there's always a wave or a nod when you pass someone on the street. That's the kind of neighborhood it is. I moved into this house 2 years ago. Bought it after my divorce. I needed somewhere calm. I liked the idea of starting over. Things were simple. Just me, a steady job, and silence when I wanted it. My neighbor moved in about 8 months after me. His name's Dave. First time I saw him, he was dragging a busted recliner into his living room. No moving truck. Just him and a couple of worn-out kids, 2 boys, maybe 10 and 12. They looked tired, like they'd seen more than most kids should. I didn't ask questions. One evening, he knocked on my door. He was polite, even awkward. "Hey man," he said, rubbing the back of his neck, "I hate to ask this, but my internet's not gonna be set up for another couple weeks. My kids got homework they gotta do online. Think I could borrow yours? Just for a little bit." I hesitated. But I saw the older boy standing behind him, holding a school-issued laptop, kind of shifting from foot to foot. I gave him the Wi-Fi password. "It's just for school," I said. "Please don't share it." Dave nodded quickly. "Of course. Appreciate it, man." Seriously. That's how it started. At first, everything seemed normal. A few times I'd come home and see one of the boys sitting on their porch, tapping away at a Chromebook. They always waved. But then little things started happening. My internet got slower, like crawling slow. I work from home, and video calls would freeze constantly. I checked my router settings. There were more devices connected than I expected. Tablets. Phones. A Fire Stick. A damn smart fridge. I asked Dave about it the next day. "Oh, that's just my ex's old tablet, and the boys' school stuff," he said. "Sorry, I didn't think it'd be a problem." I changed the password. Didn't give him the new one. 2 days later, there was a knock on my door. He looked frustrated. "Hey, the Wi-Fi ain't working." "Did something happen?" I lied. "Yeah. Switched providers. New plans data limited. Can't share it anymore." He gave me a tight smile. "Right. Cool. No problem." A week after that, my power went out. Middle of a work call. I thought it was an outage, but the neighbors still had lights. I called the utility company. They said my account had been closed at my request and a new account opened in my name, under a different billing address. I was like, what the hell? I logged into my utility account, my password had been changed. My credit card was next. Declined at the grocery store. I logged into my banking app and saw over $8,000 in new charges. Electronics. Streaming services. A damn inflatable hot tub. I called the bank in a panic. While I was on hold, I heard a knock. It was Dave. Standing there like nothing happened. "Hey," he said. "Got a little something to clear up." He held up a piece of paper. It was a lease agreement. Printed and highlighted. With my name and signature on it. It claimed I had rented my house to him 6 months earlier. That I was his landlord, and he was paying me in cash. It had fake receipts. A driver's license copy with my info and a different photo. I just stared at him. My mouth was dry. "You're insane," I said. "You faked this." He shrugged. "Should have read the fine print. Maybe don't give people your Wi-Fi next time." I slammed the door in his face and called the cops. They said it was a civil issue. Unless I could prove he forged the lease, they couldn't remove him from the property. That night, I sat in the dark. Power still off. I felt stupid. Violated. Angry. Then I remembered something. During one of our early conversations, Dave mentioned his ex-wife. Said she was a psycho. Took everything from him. He said she lived about an hour away, somewhere near Bowling Green. I found her on Facebook. Lisa Barnes. I sent a message. Hi, I'm Dave's neighbor. I know this is random, but he's done something really serious. I think you might want to know. She replied in under 10 minutes. What did he do this time? We set up a call. I told her everything. The Wi-Fi. The forged lease. The credit cards. The utilities. Everything. There was a long silence on her end. Yeah, she finally said. That sounds like him. She told me they divorced after he stole her identity and ran up $20,000 in debt. She said he's charming when he wants to be but mean as hell when things don't go his way. He'd always been manipulative. Always looking for an angle. I have copies of everything from our court case, she said. Credit card statements. Police reports. A voice recording of him admitting what he did. If you're willing to fight him, I'll help you. I said yes. We got to work. Lisa didn't waste time. The next day she drove down to Louisville with a folder thick with paperwork. We met at a diner off the interstate. She had this tired look, like she'd dealt with people like Dave her whole life. Here, she said, sliding the folder across the table. You give this to the cops and your lawyer. He's done this before. Inside were copies of restraining orders, credit card fraud reports, and transcripts from court. There was even a document where Dave admitted, under oath, that he had faked a lease once before. Same method. Same handwriting. I felt this mix of anger and relief. Anger that I'd let it get this far. Relief that maybe I could finally do something about it. I called the police again, this time with Lisa's documents in hand. A detective came to the house and sat with me at the kitchen table, flipping through everything. This is serious, he said. We can open an investigation now. That night, Dave must have known something was happening, because he showed up at my door, banging hard. You talked to her? He shouted. You really called Lisa? She's a liar, man. She's crazy. I didn't open the door. I just said through the glass, you need to leave. Now. He kicked my porch rail before walking off. The next morning, I went to my lawyer and started the eviction process. I also filed fraud claims with my bank and the credit bureaus. With Lisa's help, I flagged my name with identity theft protection. Then came the worst part. 2 guys showed up one afternoon, claiming to be from a management company Dave had hired. They said they were there to inspect the property. What the hell are you talking about? I asked. Dave said you were renting from him, one of them said. Said he owns the place now. I had to show them my deed. I watched their faces change. One of them actually apologized. The other just muttered something and backed off. I knew what Dave was doing. He was trying to confuse the situation, throw up enough smoke to make people think maybe he was right. Maybe he did live here legally. But I wasn't going to play his game anymore. Then came the call that really flipped things. Lisa called me late one night. You might want to sit down, she said. Apparently, Dave had done something even worse than we thought. He'd used my identity, not just to open cards and utilities, but to apply for a small business loan. In my name. For $10,000. And it had been approved. That was the moment something in me snapped. I wasn't just going to fight him legally. I was going to burn every lie he'd built, down to the ground. I called the loan company the next morning. Gave them the case number from the police report and faxed over the documents from Lisa. The rep put me on hold, then came back with a nervous tone. Sir, it looks like your business just withdrew $4,200 yesterday. That account is still active. I stared at my phone. Where was it withdrawn? Multiple ATMs. All in Louisville. That was it. He was cashing out before I could shut it down. I called the detective. He said they'd add bank fraud to the case and asked if I had recent photos of Dave. I sent one from my door camera, him standing there in a flannel, yelling. Then I did something I never thought I'd do. I posted his face in a local Facebook group. I told the story, left out just enough detail to keep it legal, but clear enough to warn people. Comments poured in. One woman said Dave tried to rent her basement last year, claimed he was an IT consultant and needed a quiet space for work. Another said he offered to sell her a PlayStation that never existed. Someone else posted a picture of his truck, parked outside a different woman's house, same week, different story. Lisa messaged me again. He's done this in 4 towns. Never stays long. But this is the first time he messed with someone who kept the receipts. I knew he'd see the post. That was the point. 3 nights later, I heard rustling near my front door. I turned on the porch light and saw a shadow dart off. I went outside. On the step was an envelope. Inside, $200 in cash. And a handwritten note. Let's just call it even. I laughed. Out loud. Not because it was funny, but because I finally understood the kind of coward Dave was. He thought this was about money. The next day, the detective called. They'd issued a warrant. I watched from my living room window as an unmarked car pulled up to Dave's place. 2 officers got out. One knocked, the other stood back. I couldn't hear what was said, but I saw Dave open the door. His face shifted fast, smile to panic. He tried to close it. Too late. They cuffed him on the porch. His boys weren't home, thank God. I stood behind the blinds, my hands shaking, watching him yell something I couldn't hear. That night, Lisa called again. They'll probably release him soon, she said. But at least now you've got a paper trail. I asked about the boys. They're with their aunt, she said. They'll be okay. I wanted to feel relief. But it wasn't over. Not even close. Because 2 days later, I got a knock at the door. It wasn't Dave. It was a woman holding a clipboard. She asked, "Are you Mr. Harlan?" "Yeah. I'm with Child Protective Services. We need to talk." She asked if I knew the boys had been staying at my house some nights, alone, when their dad disappeared. I didn't. I'd been so focused on protecting myself, I hadn't thought about them. All I could say was, no. I didn't know. And the truth is, I didn't want to know. Not then. Not after everything. But now I can't stop thinking about it. How many nights they sat in that cold house, waiting for someone who never came home. I thought I was getting revenge. But maybe I was just another adult who didn't look close enough. I changed my locks. I fixed my accounts. I did everything right. But I still leave the porch light on at night. Just in case they ever come back.